Kerry Stennett on Radio Cardiff 98.7 FM. It's Come On In for a Tuesday morning. A programme that features guests, a bit of chat, some features, a mystery year, which I know you all love, and don't we all? So there we are. Now then, today my guest actually joins me on the phone, the telephone. Yes, that's what we're using this morning for our little chat. And our gentleman who's joining us, I call him a gentleman, we'll soon find out if it's true or not, is Mr. Terry Cooper. Are you there with me, Terry?
I am, Kerry. Good morning.
Well, it's wonderful, isn't it? Well, once again, Terry, I like a child, really. I just love it when the technology works, don't we? And I expect you do too.
I do. I've had quite a few technical problems recently with computers and all sorts of things, but it is nice when it works.
Well,
yes.
it is. And I mean, clearly, the computer plays a very large part in your life, because I have been telling our lovely listeners that you are an author and an illustrator, but you are very, very good at illustrating things, I think, with, shall we say, the old computer, or probably it's quite a new computer, is it?
It's not that new. It's probably it's coming up to 10 years old now.
Dear me, it's a dinosaur. It's a dinosaur.
Coming out of the sides of it, yeah. And,
wow.
Isn't it funny how you buy a computer brand new and the salesman tells you it does everything and it's the fastest thing on two legs, and within 3 weeks it's completely obsolete.
Yes, I suppose there's truth in that, and I'm still waiting for them to bring out a computer that will do the ironing as well. I think that would be a good thing.
That wouldn't be bad, wouldn't it?
It wouldn't. So now, Terry, we must tell our lovely listeners a little bit more about you. Originally a Londoner, so it says here. What part of the smoke are we talking about?
I was born in a little town called Cricklewood in North London.
Cricklewood, North London, right. Yes.
Which is northwest London, not far from Wembley Stadium, in fact.
Ah, indeed. Oh, been there a couple of times, and usually come away empty-handed as a fan and a supporter and one thing and another, but nonetheless, interesting part. And how long have you now been down in God's country here in South Wales?
Well, my parents were from South Wales originally.
I see.
My dad was from Bargoed. My mum was from Massicuma.
Right.
And they moved to London in 1959, and we came back to Wales in 1980. So I've been in Wales for over 40 years.
Oh, well, there we are. We absolutely will call you a Welshman through and through, because that's what we do. We like to mark you down as a Welshman, sign you up for the full course of treatment, and we're away to go. So, tell us a little bit, if you would, in a minute or so. Give us a little bit more about your potted history. Fair enough. You've done a little bit of music as well. I mean, the name East 17 has been mentioned in your biog as well. So tell us a little bit about your time on stage.
Okay. Well, to begin with, just so your listeners know, I'm not a member of East 17.
No.
But I was once in a pop band, a rap group, which is probably going to turn off half your listeners, called Best Shot. Right. And we won our record deal, me and four guys from Cardiff, we won our record deal through a BBC Two TV competition. We got signed up for a record and a video to be produced in under 48 hours, and that got into the record books as the quickest turnaround for a British single ever. So we ended up with a record company called East West Records. It's Warner Brothers, and we spent the next 2.5 years touring the country as ourselves and also as the main support act for East 17 on their Around the World tour. Wow. So that garnered two minor hits for us. So our first record got to 91, thanks to Janice Long playing it on Radio 1. Right. And number 64 for our second single. And then it all went pear-shaped, as you can probably imagine.
But, I mean, exciting times in every sense.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, because clearly, as a young man thinking, oh, my goodness me, am I going to be, the next thing that's bigger than the Beatles? You're bound to wonder, aren't you?
Sure. I mean, after around the time of leaving school, all I ever wanted to do was get a record deal. I was severely into my rap music and my hip-hop and breakdancing and all that kind of stuff. And to be handed a record deal by a major label in the UK was amazing. Now, a lot of people have said to me, how come I've never heard of you? But, what you don't understand is that a lot of bands that seem to be overnight success have to work for years in advance before they can get this overnight success, And, at the time, we one of our first gigs was Wembley Arena, with the Smash Hits. We did the Smash Hits Soul Winners Party tour, and we met everyone from Take That to M People to Apache Indian and Eternal, PJ and Deck, those guys. Pretty much everybody, and we recorded with a lot of people as well. So it was all going really well until the record company decided they didn't like the sound of our upcoming third single, which they thought wasn't melodic or commercial enough. Right. Because we wanted a song that sounded a bit like that song called Jump Around, which is a kind of a very bouncy hit of the 90s, but a very heavy rap-orientated kind of thing. And they wanted something a little bit more ear-roll friendly, I think. Yeah. And at the time, we had spent all our money touring with E17, and we were pretty much penniless. We couldn't go back into a studio. So the record company, someone in the higher management, in fact, I can name the chap if you want.
Probably best not, I would think, just in case.
No, he's not working for the company anymore, but he used to be in a big pop band himself.
Ah, right.
Cough, Haircut 100, cough. Anyway, so he, someone up there in the upper echelons of Warner Brothers said, no, their time is done, and they wrote us off, and that was it.
And therein,
as quick as we were in.
Yeah, and I mean, therein, I guess, is a story which is told by so many aspiring young bands, some of whom are able to duck and dive and get another chance, but in the majority of cases, it's sort of back to the day job, back to school, back to college, and doing other things with your life.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, some people say, well, aren't you, really gutted? And I mean, at the time, of course it was. It was, my dream falling apart. But looking back on it now, you kind of think, well, in a way, I'm glad we didn't have a string of number one records, because I'd be walking down the street to this day and people going, weren't you that guy who was in that band? And now you're not doing anything. But I'm sort of mildly under the radar. Although I will say, every time I go somewhere, I once did a job in BT in Cardiff, in a call centre, and most of the people there said, I remember you from the TV. And I did a college course, and everyone was like, you're that guy who supported E17, so it does pop up every now and again, and it's something I'm actually proud of. I'm not embarrassed or anything.
No, rightly so, Terry, because it's nice that it still can bring a smile to your face, and obviously a smile to other people's faces as well.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So there's the career in rap music and pop music and rubbing shoulders with the great and the good, but clearly you've done lots of other things in your life so far as well, and we're keen to hear about how you got into the whole area of sort of the illustration side of things, and then writing some of your own work and so on and so on. So please take that story a little further now.
Okay. I did a podcast the other day actually, and someone, the host said, I'm coming up on our next guest is Terry Cooper, and I don't know how to describe him. And what he meant was that I've kind of done a bit of everything. Sure. And as a result, he didn't know what my day-to-day thing is. But essentially, I've been an artist all my life. Since I can grab a crayon. So I've always fallen back on that. Even when I was in the music business, I was the band's artist, and I designed our logos and T-shirt designs for tour and everything like that. Right. Flyers and whatever. So I've always fallen back onto artwork. I directed a film 2 years ago, my first feature film, and I did most of the artwork for that, as well as writing and directing it.
Right. So tell us what that was. We need to know.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I went on the radio a few times to talk about it. The film is called Off-World, and it's a science fiction story. It's about a crashed mission to a new planet where there's only 10 survivors left, and they're sort of having a race against time and starvation, etc., to try and get to their settlement that they mean to get to. Yes. And obviously everything is against them: the time, the weather, the alien creatures, the arguments, everything else. It's kind of like The Walking Dead in that respect. And we filmed it in 6 days. A full feature film, 90 minutes long, in 6 days, in Park Penalta in Ystrad, all in one location.
Goodness me.
And we were only able to do that with, obviously, a year's worth of rehearsal and a Kickstarter campaign, which we wanted something like £2,000 to cover us for camera, and we ended up getting just over £10,000. So that helped.
Yes, well, absolutely.
But as you can probably imagine, £10,000 isn't Robert Downey Jr.'s sandwich budget.
No.
So it went pretty quickly on editing, special effects, costumes, you name it. And it would have been out at Christmas, just gone. But the problem is, because of, as you know, the current situation on lockdowns, etc.
Surely.
The last hurdle that we've got to do with this film is get the sound mixed and edited together, along with the music score. And that hasn't been possible because the studio, the chap who is recording the sound and mixing the sound, etc., he's now based in London, and his studio was closed and opened, then closed again and opened again. Then there was a backlog of work. So we're kind of frustrated that there's nothing we can do to push it forwards just yet. But we are sort of taking steps as much as possible.
I guess basically you're just in the queue along with other people and just got to wait your turn, really.
Unfortunately, yeah. But we're confident it will see the light of day, hopefully this year.
No. Well,
we do have an American distributor waiting to put it out. So, they've been very understanding with us. And, one of the things they do, apart from getting it sort of distributed and out onto streaming channels, is they have a retail arm. So I found a lot of the films that they deal with are found in some of the larger supermarkets in Wales.
Right.
The chances are it will pop up there at some point.
Well, obviously, Terry, fingers crossed. And again, without going over the same old lines again, I suppose, yes, you're in the same position as so many other creative people.
Oh, indeed,
There's this terrible, terrible logjam which can only be taken apart sort of one piece of wood at a time. But I do hope, obviously, for you and all the guys and girls who are involved with that we do get to see it sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
So that's obviously something which clearly has given you joy and given you headaches, probably in equal amounts, I suppose. But tell me a little bit more now then about this new project which you have, because clearly the title, which I've been mentioning, Monsters Next Door, that sort of could be almost anything and everything. So what is it all about, Terry?
Okay. Like I said, I've always been an artist, and my day-to-day job essentially is illustrating books.
Yeah.
I do novels, covers, a great deal of children's books for a Cardiff publisher called Candy Jar.
Yes.
They were set up around 2008 by my friend Sean Russell, who essentially set up the entire publishing thing to publish my first novel.
Okay.
I'd written the novel. And the chap who was going to publish it for me found himself laid up in hospital with a serious heart problem, and he couldn't promote it in time. So my friend Sean said, "Do you know what? Let's put it out ourselves." So he set up Candy Jar, and they've gone from strength to strength now. They do a very successful range of Doctor Who books and a load of other books like that. And I'm one of their resident artists. So in addition to occasionally writing for them, books, etc. I day in, day out, I'm illustrating children's books and covers for novels. So during the lockdown, etc., I've had a million ideas bubbling over that it's very difficult to kind of get anywhere with as a film or a play or anything like that. So I thought, well, Sean said to me, "Have you thought of just putting it out with Candy Jar, to put it out yourself?" And I thought, do you know what? I think I will. So I squeezed in an hour here and an hour there and did some late nights.
Yes.
And over the course of about a month, I put together a book called Monsters Next Door. Now, it's admittedly, it sounds spooky and sounds. People have asked me, "Oh, is it too scary for kiddies?" I said, "Well, no, it's a children's book, so it is very." It's funny more than anything. There's nothing scary in there. It does make a good bedtime story because it has a nice message about kindness and being acceptance and being nice to people.
And nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and I wanted to do something slightly different, or something that suits my kind of interests. I'm into the science fiction and fantasy and that kind of stuff. And I didn't want to do a book about Bertie the bus or Colin the car, or something people just sort of look outside the window and go, "Oh, it's Tommy the tree," and things like that. And I wanted to do something a little bit more interesting, or a little bit I wanted to go a bit festive with it, in fact. So I sort of set it at Christmas as well. So we've got snow and we've got Christmas trees in it. And then everyone started saying, "Oh, well, that sounds a bit like, Tim Burton. It's sort of it's monsters, but it's got Christmas, etc." And I thought, well, that's fine because I'm a big lover of Tim Burton. I think A Nightmare Before Christmas is an absolute classic. So Monsters Next Door it's a 20-page book. It's all in full color.
Yes.
It's done in rhyme, which is where I sort of dug up my old rap skills to remember how to make words rhyme.
Clever stuff.
And it tells a story of a kid named Sam who is convinced that there are monsters living next door to them. And although they haven't quite seen it yet, haven't seen any monsters yet, they're convinced that they can see certain things and they've heard things. And so it sort of follows Sam's exploration and events going up to Christmas with their thoughts constantly in their mind of, I'm convinced there's something next door. I'm convinced there's these monsters next door.
Oh,
so the front cover will show a standard. The front cover has got a picture of a nice suburban house, and right next door to it is a kind of dark grey Gothic mansion like the Addams Family.
Like you do, yes. Like you do.
So, yeah, it's kind of started them off on their imagination.
Excellent. So what sort of age level are you sort of pitching the book at, would you say, Terry?
Well, picking a demographic is really difficult, no matter whether it's a movie or a film or anything. But generally, as long as a child is young enough to understand what a monster is and what some of the words are, if a child can just about read, I think it's kind of that age. I would guess maybe 4, 5 and up, something like that.
Surely, and I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, kids love the idea of monsters, most of them anyway. And I mean, they actually like to be afraid, don't they? At times, obviously, when they know that mum or dad or grandparents or whoever it is there to sort of put an arm around them and occasionally jump behind the sofa with them as well. Oh,
absolutely. I mean, there's nothing wrong with, like you say, a safe sense of thrill as you get from a movie in the cinema or something like that. And lots of us grew up, behind the sofa watching Doctor Who, and that's exciting. I don't think it's traumatized any of us too badly.
I don't think so.
And some parents have said to me, I was worrying about this book before I bought it. But it's my grandchild's favourite book now. They want it read to them every night. There's nothing scary in there at all.
No.
There is a small section where Sam says, "What if I knocked the door and they pulled me inside and put me on a plate and started to eat me with chocolate sauce and worms?" But that's just a fantasy, and it's illustrated in a funny way.
Yeah.
So there's nothing that would frighten kids. And basically at the end, without giving too much away, Sam realizes that not everyone is a monster, and there are a lot of nice people in this world. So it does have a nice sort of warm and fuzzy ending.
Well, excellent, and we like those sorts of endings. Believe you me, Terry. But I mean, that sounds like a lot of fun. So you've mentioned it's being published by Candy Jar, who are a very prodigious publishing company in Cardiff, and I know I've had quite a few of the authors from their stables on the show in the past, and certainly, hopefully, we will have more in the future. And so the book is available now. Yes.
Yes, I would say you could just go to candyjarbooks.co.uk, and honestly, we're running out. We had the first print run about 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Yes,
and we're down to we're in like sort of single figures now. It must be about between 9 and 10 copies left. Sean tells me that at least 2 or 3 copies sell per day.
Well,
so we are looking at quickly putting in an order for another run of books.
And I mean, that's the great thing, isn't it? Obviously, with the local publishers, they are able now, because of the wonderful world of digital technology, not to sort of go and have to print hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of copies all in the first 10 minutes. It can be done to see how the market reacts, really.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing that Candy Jar does, unlike a lot of publishers who have closed doors, Candy Jar actively accept submissions from anybody, whether it's fiction, non-fiction, etc. And because they're a small operation, you can't expect Penguin Books style advances or anything like that.
No.
But at the same time, many people have always liked the idea of writing a book, whether it's a children's book or their autobiography or something like that.
Yeah.
And Candy Jar make it possible. They can't publish everything they're sent, but, at least if you're an amateur or wannabe writer and you don't have an agent or anything like that, it can be frustrating trying to get your book published or printed. But Candy Jar will honestly give you free advice and, decide whether it's right for them, etc. And a lot of people have started their writing careers through my friends at Candy Jar. So, I got nothing but good things to say.
That's good to know,
them.
And it's good to be able to big them up. Well, Terry, we're sort of coming towards a time when I'm going to have to say cheerio. I'm sorry, because we're rolling on quickly towards the 10:30 local news here. But I wish you obviously all the success in the world with Monsters Next Door. Hopefully, perhaps we can have a chat again in a month or two's time. That would be really good.
That would be great. If I can really quickly mention something else I want to talk to you about. We have a mutual friend,
right?
A young actress and singer called Emily Wagner from the Penarth area.
We do, yes, Emma,
you
absolutely.
have done pantomime with, and your late great father, of course.
Sure.
Who I've worked with as well. I've worked with Stan.
Oh, my word. See, my past catching up with me. My past catching up.
But when I was writing the book, I was using Emma as a sounding board. As you know, she runs a sort of dance and singing and acting academy for young kids.
Yep.
And she and I talked about the possibility of turning Monsters Next Door into some kind of play or musical. So the gauntlet is out there, and the gauntlet is down, and I've told her she's got free reign to do what she likes with it.
Oh,
so I know she's listening to this right now.
Oh, excellent. Morning, Emma. Yes.
So, yes, hopefully we'll get back onto that, and we can talk to you about that.
Well, that sounds fantastic. And seriously, if you can, try and come in and actually see us. Come in and sit in here in the flesh, and we can have longer to chat. But I do thank you, as I say, for hearing all about these projects and all the things that you're up to. I wish you, as I say, all the very best with it all and your work with Candy Jar. So a reminder, as we said, the book is called Monsters Next Door by Terry Cooper, published by Candy Jar. And thank you so much for joining me this morning, Terry, and we will talk again very soon.
Lovely. Thanks very much, Kerry.
Top man. There we are. Well, that's our man, Terry, and mentioning my chum Emma there as well. See, my past catches up with me, people. It really, really does. So there we are. We'll give the book a name check again before the end of the programme. In the last half an hour of the show, we will be playing